So this is Richard and Drew with our new weekly podcast, and we're going to call it, for want of a better name, Drew and Rich's Esoteric Journey. And basically we're going to be looking to go beyond the exoteric and dive into the esoteric, and basically we'll just be sharing and discussing anything relating to the occult, conspiracies or universal mysteries that's piqued our interest. I guess we'd describe ourselves as just two regular guys looking to join the dots. So Andy, hello, welcome.
Hello, Richard. Yeah, good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Good to be on this podcast with you, mate. So what you been up to this week so far?
So this week I've following a documentary that I watched, Game Changers on Netflix. So I've been maintaining my plant-based diet. So Fantastic. People call it, I don't know, being a vegan, a vegan, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I've been doing. Getting out, doing a bit of walking, not going too crazy. But yeah, just moving again, getting some fresh air, meditating more, eating plant-based diets. And that's the one, really. Yeah, that's what I've been up to. Yeah. What about yourself? What have you been up to yourself, Richard?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to hear that you joined me in the world of vegetables. And how do you feel off the back of it? You feeling good?
Do you know what? I am. Yeah. It's just there's only one question. You know the way someone eats vegetables and they're a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Why are we called vegans? Why aren't we vegans?
Vegans, I think maybe that's a new
legend.
Thing. That's a new, just create something new. Yeah. So excellent.
But yeah, I've joined you.
Well, welcome aboard, mate. Welcome aboard. So in terms of what I've been doing this week, a friend of mine recommended a Netflix video I should watch, and I watched it. So I watched the one you were referring to. I thought it's very good. Yeah, very good. And it was incredible the amount of sort of peak performance athletes who talked about how their performance kind of shot up at the point where they started to go to sort of a full plant-based diet. So yeah, so I watched that. I've been sniffing around trying to find some work. So sort of got the kids back to school, been sort of having some conversations with people about some additional work, which is always good. But yeah, like yourself, just blowing out the cobwebs of a Christmas period and looking to get stuck into a 2020, which is why it's so great that we're hooking up and doing this podcast together. So we had
a good winter solstice. That was another thing. As we'll get involved in this podcast moving down the line, you'll know it's going to grow from this. But over Christmas, I took great joy in. People were saying, Happy Christmas. I was like, enjoy the winter solstice.
It's so typical of you, isn't it?
Yeah, a pagan, have a good Yule. Challenge everything.
Excellent. And there were some great pictures, I don't know if you saw them, from people celebrating the solstice at Stonehenge.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to get down there one year and go and participate in that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because as we know, pictures are great and they look really impressive, but it's nowhere near as actually being there. It's so it's something I'd love to do. Yeah, it was just special. Yeah, and the energy.
Maybe we'll stick that one on our calendars for next year. Yeah,
that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. Maybe do a podcast from there.
I would definitely like to do that. Yeah, whether or not the technology lends itself to us doing that, I mean, we struggled to get this one going, but
what we got there, that's the thing. We'll work with the energies.
We did, so we should be very pleased about that. So I think in terms of the new podcast, we're going to talk about esoteric, conspiracies, mysteries, etc. But I think today, why don't we just focus on talking about, sort of what woke us up? You and I have known each other for I don't know, about 3 or 4 years, you reckon?
Yeah.
And it was always interesting because the first time we met, which was through my wife, we knew nothing about each other, but it didn't take very long, probably about 10 minutes of conversation, to find out we had a huge amount in common. And I guess our conversations and relationship has kind of blossomed from there, and hence doing this. So why don't we start just chatting about, sort of what woke us up individually, And maybe just share a little bit of information about ourselves with anybody who's taken the time to listen in.
That's
Andy or Drew. I must not stop calling you Andy. My pet name for you. I'll call you Drew.
We have known each other for years. We have known each other for years.
Yeah. So Drew. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I think just following on to what you said before, a regular guy from up in the north, Liverpool. Working, staying busy, and I think just a little bit about myself. It's just about being woke and just challenging things, and really challenging things. And I think what we spoke about the saying what woke us up. Do you mind if I mention that? We'll go down that route. And that's what it was like. Even as a child, I don't want to go too very deep, but even as a child, I remember one time where my mind started firing like wow, this is different, you know. So I was little. I don't know how old I was, 5 or something. And it was looking at the stars and the moon and I remember, so I lived on an estate in Liverpool, just a council estate. I remember we were hanging around and looked up and I was like, what's beyond the moon? What's beyond the stars? And they were like, well, the universe, but what's beyond that? And I was just asking these questions and no one could answer them, i.e. me parents or my friends. And I remember, I don't know what it was, but I remember it was like, wow, it just had me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah.
And we know, which I love that, like, kids are hilarious, aren't they? That why, you tell them, but why? Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why? And that's what it was. What's beyond that? What's beyond the moon? What's beyond the sun? What's beyond the universe? What's beyond that? And what's beyond that? And then what's beyond that? And that really woke me. And
we've got a finite explanation for things, haven't we? As you say, beyond the solar system is the universe, and beyond that is something else. But
what's beyond that? Where does it stop? That's the one, is it? And then you just start. Yeah, it's just it's because even if you say like a grain of sand on a beach, well, the beach comes to an end, doesn't it? At some point, either where it meets the soil, the grass, whatever. But this is just, where does it end? Where it goes on, and you can see by me, I'm going global. I still think that now. As a 44-year-old man, and I am 44. I know I look older.
You look 43.
I had 2 paper rounds as a kid. Ours were dead far apart. And the other thing, another thing that woke us, like as a youngster. As soon as I landed on the planet, one of the things I used to do, Richard, and I still do to this day, is when I sleep, I tend to hold my breath.
Oh, do you?
Breath for a long time. Where people have actually, like, my mum's told me about this. Like when I was a kid, she was concerned because I used to hold my breath for that long, and then the midwife just said, "Look, just simply blow in his face, and he'll get his breath." And
shock him out of it, yeah.
But I do it now, and I have the best sleep. So when I hold my breath, I have the best sleeps. And I'm not telling people to hold your breath. It's something that I do unconsciously. And it's things as we move through life and the learnings that we're going through and the trainings that we've been on, the people we've met, I've learned different things, like breathing techniques. And one of the breathing techniques utilizes this. And it makes sense to me that why I used to do it as a kid.
Okay.
Am I explaining that okay?
It's almost you were doing it unconsciously because you knew the power of the breath to the body, or to the life.
As a kid, no one taught me it. It was just what I'd done. It was just something that I'd done as soon as I landed on the planet. It was something I'd done. And it's only as you get to a certain age and you look back and you go, wow, that I was doing that unconsciously when I was a brand spanker on the planet. So that's. I look back, you say, but what woke us? There's obviously things you move through, and they're one of the things. But what about yourself, Richard? So that's a little bit about me. But what about yourself? So what would you say? A bit about you and what woke you? What started you?
So I like to think of us as almost polar opposites in terms of you're from up north, I'm from down south. As you say, regular guy. I've got wife, 4 kids, and I perhaps wasn't the same as you in terms of kind of as a kid you kind of had these thoughts about what's beyond what I can see, and it was something that I got into much later in life. And I think the pivotal point for me where I started to have any kind of realizations that perhaps the world is not quite as we're sort of taught to perceive it, was through watching a documentary about 9/11. So I think it was the documentary Small Change. I might have that wrong. Might need to look that up and say it. And it just kind of explored sort of all the media reported facts about 9/11 and sort of exposed kind of what could or couldn't be true. And that was like a real wow. You know, I just had no perception, and maybe that's me being a dumb person.
We only know what we only know. That's the one.
No, that's fair play. Yeah, it was no perception that the media might be sort of misreporting things, or you know, there might be things told to us that aren't true. So that kind of really kind of gave me a jolt. And it wasn't long after that sort of within the property where I live, we'd start to get strange things happening. So we'd start to see objects perhaps moving about, footsteps upstairs when there was nobody upstairs. And all of a sudden, you know, I sort of thought, hey, this is really weird, and I need to go off and just go and research it. So I think that those two things combined, because, you know, once you get looking on the internet about anything that I guess you could describe as esoteric or slightly occult or around a mystery, there's just a huge amount of information that's just there and available to you. But until you get an interest in it, you just don't tap into it.
That's the one. That's the one.
So probably like yourself, you know, I've been looking into all of that stuff for, I don't know, about 4 years now, I would say, maybe 4 or 5 years. And it just blows your mind. It blows your mind what's there. And, you know, I guess always like to keep a degree of skepticism. You know, don't believe everything you read, whether it's through the main media or whether it's through an alternative media or through people like you and I are just kind of throwing stuff out for people to consume should they want to consume it. But yeah, I mean, the sort of information you start to find is just staggering, and it starts to put you in a place where you're thinking, actually, is my reality anything like I've been taught to perceive it as?
That is the one. That is the one.
Yeah, and I guess that's really where you and I started to kind of hook up and talk about these things, wasn't it? Because, you know, somebody else who's done yourself done a lot of research into these things, just sounding them out with somebody else to kind of get a perspective, as in, have I gone mad? Have I read this correctly? Is what I'm thinking and feeling sort of something that other people are thinking and feeling? So that kind of, I guess, was what really woke me up. And, you know, I wouldn't call myself particularly intuitive. I guess a lot of my knowledge is kind of almost academic. I've gone off and studied and read about it to learn it. Whereas I think, you know, a lot of people I come across in my day-to-day dealings in the sort of the more alternative community are more intuitive people. So they're kind of tapping into, I guess, people's auric fields and things like that, which is something that I'm not particularly developed in. So yeah, I just do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and things blow my minds at times.
That's it. Yeah.
And I guess that was. Sorry, go on, mate.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you say you like feel like you're going mad, that's the thing. So I've felt that, and I've also said, which you know, I've said this, and people who know me know I say this quite a bit. I feel like I've been put on the wrong planet. That's just something that's coming from me. Like, am I on the wrong planet?
Because you know which planet you're meant to be coming from.
I don't know, planet Anisia or something. Don't they make wash machines? Sorry, there's other wash machines available. There's it's that thing, isn't it? It's the madness of I've took that as, it's not madness. It's just like maybe thinking differently. Because as you say, you go to school, you're in the system. You only you know what they teach you. You know, and it's like you're brought up with the. Because we know what we're going to do this over the weekly podcast. We're going to go into this more in depth. But the things about you taught, like growing up, meat's good for you. You've got to have your meat, your veg. Yeah. That's good for you. Yeah, when you go to school, there's things you learn, and it's only what you teach. And if you divert your attention, you're asked to do something else. you're swiftly brought back into line. Like the amount of times I got detention in school for looking out the window. And I remember the teacher asking me, the teacher asked me in senior school, he said, he shouted at me, Larky, pay attention, blah, blah, blah. And I remember he said, like, why are you looking out the window? And I simply said to him, because it's more interesting what's going on out there than in here. And I wasn't saying it as a bit of comment. I was saying it because it was the truth. And
just the facts.
And then I got rewarded with a board duster. Now, this is going to show me age. The teachers used to write in chalk and have a board duster. And for me, my reward for saying that to him, he threw a board duster at me, which made everyone giggle, yeah. It's just one of them. And I remember the lesson because it was geography, and we were learning arable farming in southern Spain. And that I remember that because the board duster come at me, but I'll be honest, I've never used arable farming in southern Spain. I don't know. But that's another thing where I'm thinking, why was it teaching me that in school? Why don't they teach law or holistic therapies or? But we'll get into that over the podcast. So that's the one I think. And we only know what we only know, and again, it's that calling, it's that energy, it's that intuition, whatever you want to call it. And then the other thing is, I'm just gonna, you know me, I just say it how it is. It's you tend to see, and I'm proud of this fact that I'm stepping out of the herd mentality. Like I don't buy the newspapers. I catch news now and again, but I don't go out my way to watch the news. And I can see it now through the learnings and the people I've met and the route I've took. You just see it's like a pantomime. Oh, it is a pantomime. That's my interpretation of it. It's a pantomime going on, and I don't see it any different from the other things like what are they, Big Brother or Love That?
It's just the next scale, isn't it?
To me, that is, and that's what I think. That's the audience that we're going to link in with. People who are going to listen to this podcast are going to think similar to me and yourself, and challenge everything. That's the big thing, which you've always said, haven't you, mate? Challenge everything, and that's the thing. Be able to see it from point of view. Like, don't get me wrong, we've got views on certain things and we're passionate about them, but always be willing to see it from the other side. And that's where I feel the madness comes in, because I speak with people and they refuse to see it from another side. And what you just give that. But what if that did happen? What it wouldn't have happened, like with 9/11? No, they wouldn't have done that. I'm like, but what if? And they just point blank refuse. And the thing is, and again, the madness things come in. Madness is just, it's not a word to really buy into. It's just I'm grateful for that feeling, because it's put me on a different path, a different journey to challenge things, because I'm not going to be able to speak about it with the main group. So I'll go and do my own research, and I find a lot of time in it, as well as spending time playing the guitar, as you know, and spending time with me lads. That's what I do. I spend time researching things.
And I think what's really interesting with what you're saying there, sort of kind of stepping away from that herd mentality, because I guess ultimately how we think, I guess we'd like other people to think that way. So almost this mentality perhaps becomes the norm. But I think, at the end of the day, we only wake up when we're ready to wake up. You can't force anybody to wake up. You've got to come to your own realizations. So although this might seem like perfectly normal to you and I, me 5 years ago, I'd be sitting there going, what? But I don't understand. Why would they kind of be involved in something like 9/11? Doesn't make any sense. So, I think all you can ever do is make the information available to people, but you can't force people to take that information on. But as you say, I guess that's one of the reasons why we've chosen to do something like this, just to do our little bit of trying to help wake people up and make the information available to people. And have an outlet for discussing the kind of individual bits of research that you and I do on things. So
that's the one. And interaction with people, that's another thing I'm looking forward to. Other people, because we know ourselves, we challenge each other and we speak about things. And for people to challenge us or put a bit of feedback in. And the thing is, which you have to say to a lot of people I speak to, it's making me giggle. Sometimes we disagree in life, don't we? With
definitely
different views. But the way I have to explain to certain people, just because we disagree doesn't mean I hate you or dislike it. It just means I've got a different opinion.
Yeah.
It's just, that's another thing. You walk away thinking, again, we're going to use that. Am I going mad? What's going on here? I'm just thinking a different way. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're cool.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we all did think in the same way? It would be a very one-dimensional environment we lived in, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That's the one. And we've all got our own values and beliefs, as we know, which we'll go on another podcasts.
Definitely.
But it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm for two lads like us with men with kids, and yeah, I just come from a simple background, and yeah, it's just myself. As I look back years ago, someone talking like that, I'd be like, oh my god, he's a hippie. He should be like on a beanbag hugging people or something, wearing tie-dye t-shirts in a forest or something like.
Well, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to pop my tie-dye t-shirt on and go and sit on a beanbag. By the way, so
I'm actually on a beanbag.
You're on a beanbag. You're not. Excellent.
And it's made of plant-based beanbag. It's all kidney beans.
That cabbage is going to go rotten. You know that.
That's the one. That's the one.
Now listen, mate. We better wrap this up actually, because my battery is running low.
Your computer one or your internal one?
Yeah, both, mate.
Well, recharge. Be kind to yourself, and it's funny as we're looking at each other now, and it's a thing. I buzz off a giggle. The way we see the external, we can see the external. I can see my picture on the webcam. Isn't it funny? We see what's on the outside when really everything's going on the inside, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's very profound. That is very profound, mate. Who fed you that line?
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Crack on.
So Drew. So what are you doing for the rest of the week, my friend?
So exciting news. Well, exciting for me.
Blimey, come on, hit us with it.
So I'm going to be doing my work, which I enjoy. I'm going to be working.
Good for you.
In addition to that, on Thursday, I've got my first harmonica lesson.
Harmonica, oh, awesome!
Yeah. So
awesome.
It's going to be it's a well-known band up here in the northwest. It's the Intercity Blues, and it's a guy, Archie, who's the lead singer. He's a former soldier, and he's going to give me some harmonica lessons.
That is awesome. Well, I hope that goes well.
As well as bending the string, hopefully. But the thing about the harmonica, as you can see with moustache, it's got caught in my moustache a few times.
You got to trim up a little bit.
Well, I don't know. I'll go through the pain of ripping.
People suffer for that harmonica for too long with that moustache. Definitely not. So. But no, that's good for you, mate. That sounds exciting.
So what about yourself? What have you got planned?
So I was meant to be doing a comedy gig on Thursday night, but unfortunately I've got to move it because I'm helping my eldest boy move into his newer place in London.
Oh, very nice.
So he needed to borrow the van, as it were. So he's kind of, I'm a man with a van for the day. And boom.
So yeah, Richard, you're going to be helping your eldest son moving into his London pad.
Indeed, I am. Yeah, so that's kind of probably one of the main focuses for my week, and obviously doing a whole bunch of other research as well. Just kind of getting my nose stuck in some interesting stuff, which hopefully, it'll be something that we talk about next week.
That's the one. We're chomping at the bit, aren't we?
I
know why. Well, speaking to me, I'm ping, ping, ping.
You always get me going from an energetic point of view because you've got a lot of energy that even conveys through the screen here, my man. So I guess, should we wrap it up for this week? You want to close it out? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we've got coming for the week. So until next time, remember, question everything. Peace, light, and love to all. If you'd like to get in comments, give a bit of feedback, please, more than welcome. So again, any learnings, observations, new discoveries, get in touch. And we look forward to traveling this journey with you on Drew and Rich's esoteric journey.
Fantastic. All right, buddy. You take care. Have a good
week.
You too.
Cheers. Peace and light, brother. Ta-ra now.
Peace and light.